You did it. You're live.
Yeah, does it say, mine still says preparing to live stream.
Mine says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube.
Yeah. So does mine.
Great.
And that's
All right. All right. Well,
Thank you.
it looks like we have a quorum, so I'd like to call to order the Midco Solid Waste meeting for January 29th, 2020. And we have two segments of our agenda this evening. One is our required annual board meeting for various action items, and then the regular board meeting. We'll start with the agenda for the annual board meeting. Action items number one, first and foremost, is the election and approval of officers of the corporation, and specifically would be the chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. So I would be looking for nominations for each of those.
I nominate Bill Falciani as the chair.
Second.
Discussion. No discussion, go roll call vote, starting with Dave Barrows.
Yes.
Denise.
Yes.
Deborah.
Yes.
Allison.
Yes.
Wendy. She muted. That's okay, Wendy. I got Wendy's definitely a nodded yes, and Mr. Kern.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Unanimous. Thank you. I'll get even later. The nomination for vice chair, please. I don't see.
I nominate Mike Brown.
I second.
Okay,
If I'm unmuted. Yeah. You are unmuted.
nomination, do I have a second?
I seconded.
Okay, thank you very much. Roll-
Oh, no, I nominated him. I'm sorry. And then Wendy seconded.
Don't try to trick me.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay, a roll call vote. Dave Barrows,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Deborah.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Unanimous. Nomination for secretary.
thank you.
I thought I heard something, but it broke up. You have a nomination for secretary? Who's the current secretary?
Dave Barrows is the current secretary, I think.
Okay,
I think he would be a fine nomination. I move to nominate
Okay.
Barrows as secretary.
okay.
Second.
I'll second.
I think Denise seconded. Thank you. Roll call vote. Denise,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Deborah,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Dave Barrows,
Abstain.
and Bob, yes. Still unanimous. Thank you very much. And lastly, on the officers of nomination for treasurer.
I would nominate Allison.
I second that.
Nomination seconded. Now roll call vote. Deborah,
Yes.
Kern,
Yes.
Wendy,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
David,
Yes.
and Bob, yes. And Allison.
Yes.
Good. Unanimous again. Thank you very much. The newly elected officers will now assume our duties. Secondly, in the meeting, we should discuss the committee assignment approval. We have the list in our packet of committee assignments, and while we can always make changes, does anybody have any recommendations or changes I'd like to make at this point to current committee assignments?
I would love to be on the strategic planning committee. If I could.
Okay. 1 second, let me just pull up the meeting packet so I make sure I
I'm
have.
gonna go through and strategically mute people and see if I can figure out what this background.
Oh, thank you, Allison. Okay, fine. We can make that change. Is there any other recommendations on committees?
Does the bylaw changes that we're going to approve today, does that remove some of the requirements about who is,
To be members?
yeah.
Correct. Correct.
I don't know that we need to change anything, but
Well, we don't. It'll change the restrictions we currently have, though. there are some restrictions, but we'll discuss that in a minute. I think we can get around that. Unless there are any other changes, we'll stay with what we have, but,
I have a change on the committee assignments.
okay.
Bill Post should be replacing me on the finance committee.
Oh, yeah, that actually already happened, I think, but we didn't.
Oh, Bill Post.
Yeah, but it still shows me.
Yeah,
So Bill Post is replacing Deborah on finance. Is that correct? Okay, just to make, we'll get it into the meeting notes so we have it, and Beth, when she gets finished with all this, when we get through this, let's do one more chart with all the names we're talking about here, and we'll issue it for, one last look by email after this meeting. Okay? Anything else?
I'm not sure that I have time for the governance committee all the time, depending on how rigorous Deborah plans on the schedule being, but I don't know if there's somebody else that feels like they have all the time in the world for the governance committee, but
That's, if since you're the Camden representative and you want to pull out, I'd be happy to take your place.
Yeah, I was going to say it has to be somebody from each town, so that would be fine.
That's why I mentioned it, because Allison is the Camden rep.
Yeah.
So I would be happy to make that swap, Allison, if you agree.
sure, yeah.
Listen, I would just make the comment that once we get things where they need to be, I'm not sure there's going to be,
I would agree.
a heavy workload. And Deb, maybe you can chime in there, but once we get things where we want it to be, or where the board thinks it needs to be, I'm not sure it's going to be a time consuming thing. Maybe I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Well, I think, the first thing we did was we started with the bylaws and, so hopefully we can kind of more or less finish off those bylaws with a couple things tonight. But there are changes that we had wanted to make to the interlocal agreement.
Mhm.
And then there are some policy issues that we want to discuss. So I would say that we're sort of halfway through.
Okay.
One of the things that I'm not sure made it into the bylaw changes that we had discussed was the hopefully getting to a point where we could put non-board members as committee members when the board deemed it appropriate.
I don't think we ever approved that at the governance committee, did we, Allison? I know we talked about it.
I can't remember if it was, I don't remember disagreement on the subject, but
I have to go back and
I
look.
think you raised it another time, but
Yeah.
I don't remember
really-
it ever making its way in.
Yeah, it's clearly not addressed as far as I saw in this current bylaw draft, so we could always go back at it again and
Yeah.
discuss and make that change.
It's not to say that we can't make any more changes to the
No,
bylaws.
no,
It's just
no,
that it's
we
just
can.
that we this sort of first round hopefully will be completed tonight. And that's not to say, Allison, that we can't go back on that.
okay. I wasn't sure if it was in there and I had missed it. And
Okay, with those, annotate those 3 changes to committees and issue that to the board, Beth, when you get a chance, please. We do have reestablished or established the weighted vote for fiscal year 2021, which is in your packet. Are there any comments on it? No, I didn't think there would be. So with that said, I would recommend we motion to approve the weighted votes as listed in our packet tonight.
I thought we decided at the last annual meeting that we're not going to be doing the approval of weighted votes because they are what they are. So, what if there's a motion and it fails, or what if people vote against it?
Yeah, that's
We
true.
have the ability to, because it would be contrary to our interlocal agreement and our bylaws.
Yeah, well put. Move on.
although I think there was also the discussion about finding a way to make sure that we acknowledge it each.
Yeah, so I think
make
that
sure
what we,
it's correct and
yeah.
using the updated numbers and all that.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure. I think it's just sort of an announcement at the annual meeting that this
That's
is
correct.
a weighted vote with the ability to ask how the numbers are derived at or to double check the numbers. But it's
Right.
really just the establishment and announcement of it, not a vote on it.
Yeah, you're correct. It's an establishment. That's why it says established. You're absolutely correct. So if there are any comments, questions, otherwise, the weighted votes in our packet are what is established for 2021 fiscal year.
Oh,
The,
and then also that's what, that, I think we talked about, that's actually the same numbers as are in the budget, right? So when we approve the budget for this year,
Yes.
that would have been the time to argue about
that's correct.
those
That's correct.
allocations. Yeah, okay.
Well, the third item is we do have a fee schedule currently established for review and approval. Do we have any discussion on the fee schedule as listed here by anyone here on the board or Mike?
So the finance committee reviewed that as part of our meeting, and you can see in our meeting minutes, everybody that was at the meeting agreed with the recommendations, with the caveat that the budget did discuss the need to likely increase bag fees as part of it, but that is also highly dependent on what we end up doing with our trash for the next few years. So
Mhm.
it may need to be revisited, but for now seemed pretty good.
Okay,
I agree.
then we would request a motion to accept the Midco Solid Waste fee schedule 2021 as included in our packet.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Deborah?
I had to find my mute. Yes.
Yeah. Kern,
Yes.
Wendy? Yes, I can see you waving up and down there. Good. Dave Barrows,
Yes.
Denise,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes.
and Bob, yes, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much. Let me get back up to our agenda. I believe that includes all the items on our agenda for annual meeting. And we will then close the annual meeting and revert to our regular board meeting with a start with public and director comments. I know, well, I'm positive there are no public comments at this point, but this would be a good place to insert an item on director comments for the draft, or just a replay by of the minutes of the finance committee's report, because it came late, and I think this would be a good place to insert it, because some of it follows on to what we're discussing below. So unless anybody on the board disagrees, I would like to Allison as treasurer to give us a summary of that, just a brief summary of what is in that finance report. I'm sorry, the finance committee meetings, because I don't think everybody's had a chance to read it.
Sure. Let's see here. Let me just pull it up. Yeah, so there were 3 of us present at the finance committee meeting on Wednesday. The big thing that we met to review was the draft year-end financials, which have been updated a little bit, I think, since what's in your packet. But the great news is that we are about $72,000 in the black, which some of us may have never thought was going to be possible at various times during the year. We had some pretty significant overruns in things like leachate. We ended up pumping more of that than we thought. There were landfill development expenses, fire suppression expenses, facility maintenance and repair expenses that were all over, but we were about more than $100,000 underspent in the labor and the wages and benefits lines. So this was due in large part to vacancies not being filled. In terms of revenues, most things were pretty much as projected. We exceeded projections in the landfill fees, which was great because we knew that we were taking a little bit of a risk when we increased those fees pretty significantly, but that has paid off. We also brought in more for bag fees than expected and the per ton tipping fees. The only significant shortfall was not unexpected, and that was in the baled commodities or household recycling category, where we were about half of what was projected. The the shortage in spending on labor was discussed and emphasized by the facility manager that this is not something that is sustainable. We definitely can't just continue to underspend by $100,000
Mhm.
in that category. And so we were really quite excited by how well things really turned out during this really tumultuous time. And the three of us there, so that was Bill Post and Mike and I, did note that it might be appropriate with a portion of the surplus. It might be a nice opportunity to give employees some sort of a bonus or year-end stipend, given that they were really short-staffed. And if we had spent what we expected to spend in the labor category, we would have ended up in the red. And we didn't, and I think it's a testament to them. So that was our recommendation. We also discussed the fee schedule, as I mentioned, and then the upcoming deadline for the for the audit services RFP. The deadline is Friday, and we haven't gotten any responses yet, but it's expected that we will. And then the Finance Committee would help to review those proposals when they come in. So I guess I would hand it over to Mike and the board, if it was kind of thought that the Finance Committee would throw out this recommendation at about a possible stipend. We had thought about a number possibly equivalent to somewhere around $500 for a full-time employee and maybe $250 for a part-time, but to be allocated and sort of calculated as the manager deemed appropriate. I don't know if Mike wanted to speak at all to that, or if Bob, you
Yeah,
wanted.
Mike, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are. What's your feeling? You're the manager.
Well, no, I absolutely agree with Allison. I have pulled up some work hour numbers as we discussed during the committee. I want to base it on something. I need to quantify these numbers because we do have different employees that work different shifts, different hours. I have that information that I need. I have some numbers put together. What I was going to do is forward that on to the committee for review. So Allison and Bill and Wendy will get that.
1 second, Mike. Allison, I just got a message that says the meeting's ending in 10 minutes.
I know it looks like maybe the town of Camden didn't renew our subscriptions.
But our subscription says through May of 2021. So I don't know what's going on.
We may need to, so yeah, we may need to,
Set a contingency plan, and can somebody?
I can try to click on upgrade right now, I suppose.
Okay, go ahead, try it. Go ahead, Mike. And if we get
Well,
disconnected,
we're working on it. I agree with it. We're going to do it. So I will forward on any information to board and committees.
Is it the meeting that's going to end, or is it the YouTube, the live YouTube? Is it the actual Zoom?
it said
Yeah,
Zoom.
so it's the,
It said Zoom.
you can only do 45 minutes if you don't have a paid subscription.
Yeah, I know.
But we do have one, so I'm not sure what the problem is here.
I'm not either.
But if this does.
Well, if
happen-
this does crash, who can, Deborah, somebody, or you reconvene the meeting with an invite?
No, it wouldn't be like that. It would be, hold on. It might just be that I'm not signed in. One of us isn't signed into the account. I'll work on this in the background. If that does happen, we can just,
We'll have to do another invite.
yeah, well, yeah, unfortunately.
And who will take that? Because we only got 8 minutes left. I don't know, this has never happened before.
I think I can solve it in the background here.
Okay, all right. Anyway, to Mike's comment about, you might, when you don't have it as an agenda item, we can vote to make it an agenda item and add it to the agenda, but do you have the data that the board can chew on? Are we talking about a total number, a budget number for the bonus pool?
I do. I mean, I could forward it on. Basically, what it comes down to is I want to be able to quantify this so it's fair for all employees. Okay, so one guy works 1 day a week and you get another guy working 40 days a week. So as we discussed during our committee meeting, we're going to come up with fair numbers based on hours worked and come out with a number. I don't have that right now on the top of my head, but I can put it together in something submittable to the board and whoever on what committee needs it.
Well, I mean,
I would say that we could just, if it was something the board wanted to move forward, we could just approve up to a certain amount to be distributed as deemed
yeah, we could.
appropriate.
Do we have an idea what that amount is?
I think,
Roughly, like on a per monthly basis, it's roughly $300 for a full-time employee. So if you look at 2 months worth of work, you're talking $600, which I think is fair. Divide that up by the hours worked for the part-time guys, and you can come up with numbers based on their hours of employment.
Yeah, again, are we talking $10,000, $12,000 total?
All total, $3,500 tops.
Okay, well, and this is a one-time bonus?
Yep.
If the board approves, I would need a motion to add this item to the agenda so we can act upon it.
so moved.
And I'll need it.
I'll second it.
Okay, I need a 2/3 vote. So Dave Barrows,
This is just to add it to the agenda.
correct. Dave Barrows,
Yes. Yes.
Denise?
Yes.
Muted.
Deborah,
Yes.
Allison,
Yes,
Karen,
Yes,
Wendy?
This is for the figure 3,500?
Well, it's only to put it on the agenda, and we'll discuss the amount next, okay?
Okay, certainly, then yes.
Okay, good, and Bob, yes, also, it's unanimous, so the item is on the agenda, so let's have a discussion on the proposed idea on how we package this bonus idea. Mike, what are you recommending? Are you recommending that you be authorized a amount of money total maximum kind of a thing for a one-time bonus for employees?
Yes. Yep.
And
I think
what you're recommending is not to exceed 3,500, is that what I heard?
My
Yes.
question.
That sounds kind of low.
yeah, I thought we talked about something more along the lines of 7,000.
Yeah, if you're talking $600 average per person times 11 people.
That number was based on just a couple of months earlier on this year. If this is a year-end bonus, we could certainly maybe double that number to take into account the rest of the year that we're going to be working here.
Well,
I think our intention on the finance committee was not to tie it to coronavirus. It was that given the considerable challenges that have come up in Midco Solid Waste over the past year, changes in management, changes in the way we had to do things, and the fact that now looking at the budget, we came in so significally under budget in that area.
well, yeah,
I think that's where it's coming from, and as a thank you for a job really well done,
I
and
agree.
not about a couple months of coronavirus.
My numbers are not based, they're not Corona related. They're simply hours worked for a couple of months. So that's where I'm coming from, not so much
that's how you calculated it.
Right. That's what my calculations are coming from.
Right, and the rationale was they've done Herculean effort with the short staff, and that's why you want to bonus them a chunk of change, however it's calculated, to be not to exceed $7,000. Correct?
Correct.
That's a one-time check.
Yep.
It has nothing to do with the rest of the year.
Bob,
Who was that?
I got a question.
But Allison,
Brown.
at least 1 second, have we solved our problem yet? Because we're down to 3 minutes.
So we're gonna have to log out and then we're just gonna have to stop the meeting and restart. So we have about 3 minutes left to do that.
Right.
It's,
Do we need a new invite? I think we do.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid this may happen again if it's something that has to do with what I posted and it limited it to, because we've already upgraded to Pro. when I checked it, we already have that paid through May of 2021. Is there somebody else that can use their Zoom to re-invite these 12 people into another link immediately?
I don't think that that was the problem. I think the problem was that when I started onto this, I wasn't logged in to,
Oh.
but it,
So when Bob switched you
Huh.
as the host,
Yeah, because I just got a thing that said Bob's the host.
yeah, I
now.
changed that to try to see if it's, asking
That's it.
somebody else to send a meeting invite is going to create a whole nother set of problems because of the live stream. If everybody has access to email, we can just end the meeting and restart, and
Restart the same meeting?
apologies.
We restart the same meeting?
Nope, I'll just send I'll just send an invite to everybody, or you can.
Well, why don't you do it? Because I think I think it has to do something when I set it up.
Okay,
Why don't you do that right now and send out another meeting, because we're gonna need to do it in 1 minute and 40 seconds. We're gonna lose the whole meeting. So yeah, send it out and then we'll all re-log into it.
okay.
Thank you so much. Sorry about that, folks. And then we can, then we might as well stop now because we're getting into the heat of this discussion on this bonus item, and we're in the middle of it, and we're gonna get cut off in 1 minute.
so we just leave.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Allison,
Yeah,
I texted you a different email address. Can you, when you're done, just send that to me too?
yep.
I have trouble logging on to the work one from home.